Up, beautiful souls, blessings to all of you guys out there. Alien creatures, I love you. I appreciate you. I care about you. I respect you. And hopefully you can do these things for yourself as well. Something I'm learning and working on as well. So, welcome back. This time I wanted to make this video titled, I'm Not Stopping Until You Learn Not Only Astrology, but Piscean Philosophy. And by that I mean my own original Piscean philosophy. But a lot of other people share the same feelings that I have. And I'm not special. And that's something I had to realize. I mean, maybe I'm special in the sense that I'm a detransitioner. But I still have my breasts and my vagina. And a lot of these other young women do not have their breasts anymore. I'm very, very grateful to the universe for giving me the opportunity to speak to 107 people on YouTube. You guys mean the fucking world to me. I'm still doing a lot of work outside of this channel. Like I've said in my last few videos, I'm now in an IT certificate class, which means I need to be taking notes, doing tests, exams, all this other school shit so I can get a certificate. It's a long story, but I'm here, and I wanted to make this video very long, right? It's 8:54 in the morning, as you guys can see on screen, and I wanted to go over As Mortals We Can Try, which is a philosophical treatise on astrology, finitude, and the reach for pattern. But before I even get started further on in this video, and then we get really in-depth and detailed, and it's too late to say it, please, with peace and love, subscribe, like, comment, and share if you care and dare. I'd appreciate that. Alright? So, essentially it's a conceptual blueprint here, but I'm going to first read to you for a philosophical magnum opus, and it's written in a mature, rigorous voice that bridges astrological practice with existential inquiry. And now, the thing about this is, we should always think about astrology with existential inquiry, in my opinion, because we were going to die anyways. As soon as we were born, we were formed to die. And that's, you could say it's just you being a Taurus rising, me being a Taurus rising with conjunct Algol fixed star. Pretty fatalistic, and I have a fucking Pisces stellium in the 11th house. I'm just very tired of superficial bullshit and how it ruins us as people. So the work is structured as a meditation on the limits and possibilities of astrological knowledge, what it means to reach for cosmic pattern while remaining bound by mortal finitude. At least, and here's the funny part about this. We can say we're bound by mortal finitude, but how is it that people like Elon Musk, yes, I can just look up Elon Musk and immediately see that he wants to die on Mars. Like he's so special. He wants to die on Mars. What difference is that going to make? A more painful death? Or trying to extend your mortal finitude? People like Musk are actually fucking delusional to the point where, yes, Elon Musk is making billions and trillions. He is making a lot of money for somebody that's just simply a white man and, quite frankly, majorly autistic. Quite frankly, I can tell when someone's autistic, and like, I have it myself. I've been diagnosed since I was 8 years old. Don't fucking tell me. I don't know. I literally, I didn't start talking until I was 5 years old. I didn't have any friends throughout elementary school. I was a quiet kid. I was a fat kid. I was getting bullied at my fucking house. But anyways, that's not the point of this video. To ramble on and babble about life being a dream, maybe a nightmare of chaos and anguish. Anywho, we are going to get started on this, but I also wanted to show you guys what else I wanted to talk about in this video. Kind of like chapters of this video. So, I also wanted to talk about the Anima Signatura, which is an astrological treatise on the souls of beasts, the bones of giants, and the secret language of species. Alright? meaning that animals also have an astrological influence on themselves, on one another as animals, but also on human beings, of course. We say these animals are our best friends, dogs, cats, but what about, all the way from the beginning, dinosaurs? Let's talk about that. All right, so that's another part of this video. I would like to talk about reincarnation because I'm a pretty fatalistic fuck. I'm very cynical, I'm very nihilistic, and I don't really care about coming back to do this all over again. Do I want to get pregnant? I would like to have a baby, but in my opinion, I believe that if I have a baby, I'm going to be reincarnated. And I really don't care how crazy that sounds to some people, but I don't want to come back. I've seen quite enough. I mean, I'm the last of the zodiac sign, the 12th from the 12th house. I am tired of being on this earth. And just already going through what I've gone through in 21 years, man, it's a miracle I haven't off myself. I was very close to doing it when I was 12 years old, and some people younger, because this life is just so fucking scary. And that's the thing, I watched KRS Astrology, and I'm gonna ramble a little bit here, but shout out to KRS Astrology, who makes those astrophilosophy videos. I don't know if he still makes them, but he made one in specific about, like, why do we always try to escape? Like, whether we smoke cigars, cigarettes, tobacco, vape, we smoke weed, we drink alcohol, we drink soda, we get fat. Why do we do these things? It's because our souls want more. Our souls want to be in that higher dimension where they were originally created from, which is hyperspace. And if you haven't seen that video that I made about hyperspace, check that out immediately. I have a lot of videos on this channel where I talk about dimensions, portals, quantums, fucking astrology. I go on and on and on, just for you guys. And I'm glad to have you guys, because this channel started at 0 subscribers. I didn't have 107 subscribers last year. So, we're growing. Now, so we don't get confused here. This is more of a advanced astrology reverse history or alternate history. A treatise on the celestial mechanic, where we reframe the heliocentric principle through the lens of astrosymphonia. So that would be pretty fun to go over with you guys. I always have to change the colors as soon as I start my video, so that's a little annoying, but hey, I'm sure you guys are fine with it. Alright. As mortals, we can try. And I've named another video this as well, so this video is just going to be titled, I'm Not Stopping Until You Learn Astrology and Piscean Philosophy. And this is number 2 because I already made a video titled, I'm Not Stopping Till You Learn Astrology. And I got a comment on that. That person that left me a comment saying, thank you for talking about my sign, helping me understand it with peace and love. I appreciate you. God bless you. Let the universe bless you and receive these videos and this content for free. I do not charge. I mean, I have my Cash App and everything, but in all of my videos, I never say, guys, if you really want to learn astrology, pay me this much money every month and da-da-da-da. Like some people like Cam White, where they're like, $900 for my astrology package. And it's like, okay, I get it. You gotta survive, but like, other people do too. And that's such a Leo thing. It's like, especially Sun and Leo, it's like, give me $900, $1,000. I'm the best. I am. And it's just like, man. Astrology it should be free, in my opinion. I'm a Pisces. It should be free, and everybody deserves to know it. It doesn't matter if they're a dick, and they're rude, they're evil. They deserve to know their astrology. I mean, everyone deserves to know, in my opinion, especially their time of birth, which a lot of people do not get, whether it's because their parents don't give it to them, birth certificate was lost, birth certificate doesn't even have the time on it, other random mishaps that the individual doesn't even get to understand who they fundamentally are on an astrological level. It's not fair, it's cruel, it's fucking retarded. But yeah, anyways, before we keep rambling, let's go about doing the actual video, because we're 10 minutes in. So, this is my epigraph before we start. Well, the stars are not the cause, but they are the language. Meaning what? The stars do not impel, because they compel. We who are born under them are not their subjects, but their interpreters, and interpretation is a mortal art, prone to error, shadowed by desire, yet the only bridge we have between the given and the possible. From the author's preface, also known as me, so. Author Piscean here, the X05. So you know it's specifically this Piscean. Unless someone else on YouTube has my name, that would be really funny. I don't think they do though. Alright. So, our preface is the permission to fail, which a lot of people seem to not have. Either it's with themselves or with other people. You see people like my father, for example, who is a dry alcoholic, and I will sit here and talk shit about my dad because I've watched him make my life miserable. When I was growing up, my dad, the way he would talk to my mom, berate my mom, make her feel the way she felt, and just give her, like, the worst insecurities ever. I sat there as a little girl watching that. That fucked me up. And it also taught me that my dad, as an Aries sun, and I'm not totally sure his other placements, just as an Aries sun alone, my dad is a fucking egomaniac. He is an egomaniac. And he doesn't allow my mom permission to fail. When my mom has to burp or fart, or even snores in her sleep, she gets yelled at. She gets berated, because she's a woman. My parents are from the 60s, but they're black. I watched my dad buy my mom shit as if that would fix everything. And growing up, I never had permission to fail. I wasn't even allowed to cook food in my parents' house, unless it was with the microwave. Or else why I'd get yelled at. She's messing up our kitchen. Get her out of there. Go watch her. Like I was a dog. Pisces sun, Libra moon, Taurus rising, conjunct Algol. The permission to fail. And when we talk about this as well, that's even the fact that I have Saturn in Cancer in my fucking third house. Of course, I need permission to fail. I mean, we all deserve it. That's what I'm trying to get at. And a lot of people seem to not understand that. Especially employers. Like, I've worked jobs before where I could just tell my manager at the time or my boss was not even giving me permission to fail because it wasn't their pay grade to fail. But people are people and we make mistakes. We're not perfect. And this perfectionism thing is so Virgo, it's bullshit, but that's real Virgo stereotypical bullshit is perfectionism. If it's not perfect, why are you even doing it? Why are you even trying? If it's not perfect to the fucking T. And the funny thing is, technically in my Vedic chart, I have Virgo moon, not Libra moon. That's why I'm here right now, making a long-ass video that I know for a fact probably is only going to get like 2 or 3 views. But I'm still here. So anyways, I also have moon in the 6th house of work and routine, so. Alright, this book is written in the space between 2 recognitions. Right, the first is that the cosmos exhibits pattern, rhythms that precede us and will outlast us, symmetries that suggest an order not of our making. The second is that we are finite beings, bound by mortality, our perceptions filtered through the narrow aperture of human consciousness. To practice astrology is to claim that we can read these patterns, alright? Meaning, to practice it honestly is to admit that we will always read them imperfectly, alright? Understanding? So the title is an acknowledgement, therefore, and a promise. As mortals, we can try. This is also a verse out of the song Alive in the Septic Tank by Clarence Clarity. He's literally like, as mortals, we can try, and good Lord, you'll try. As mortals, we can try, and oh good Lord, you will try. As a human being, to make it to success, to make it to that Hall of Fame, whatever it is. Not we can conquer, not we can know with certainty, but we can try. And that's the best way to even put it, to be honest with you. The effort itself is the offering. You try the best you can is good enough. This treatise is an attempt to articulate what that trying entails, its philosophical foundations, its ethical demands, its existential stakes. I do not write as one who has mastered the stars. I write as one who has watched them long enough to believe that they speak, and who has listened long enough to know that the hearing is never complete. Now, this isn't fully fledged out yet, but I will give you an extended excerpt of what a chapter in this book would look like, but I already have the chapter structured, so that's what we're going to first go over. So part 1 would be the given, and they're split up, of course, in sections, because each one has its own narrative. So the given, we would go over the celestial is not the causal, a critique of mechanistic astrology and the error of confusing pattern with efficient cause, argues for a non-reductive reading. The stars are not engines but texts, not causes but meanings, and it draws on Aristotelian final causality, Kant's critique of teleology, and contemporary philosophy of language. So make sure to stay tuned, because this will be fully fledged out eventually. Like a lot of my books, it's probably just going to come together as one big book that's over 1,000 pages eventually. So the observer's shadow. The astrologer does not stand outside the chart. The chart is read through the astrologer's own history, wounds, and limitations. This chapter explores the hermeneutics of astrology, how we bring our mortal subjectivity to the text of the heavens, and why this is not a flaw, but a condition of meaning. Alright. So, and then we finish with the necessity of symbol for section 1. Astrology cannot be translated into purely empirical terms without losing its essence. Symbolic language is not a less rigorous substitute for scientific language. It is a different order of knowing, meaning it's suited to questions of meaning, value, and existential orientation. A defense of symbolic cognition against positivist reduction. Alright. Alright, part 2, we go over the practice of astrology itself. Starting with rigor as a spiritual discipline, the astrologer's technical training, the memorization of dignities, the calculation of aspects, the layering of house systems. It's not a mere craft, but a spiritual practice, alright? Precision is a form of humility. It is the acknowledgement that we serve something larger than our intuition. The ethics of reading. To read another's chart is to touch the other's vulnerability. This chapter examines the ethical obligations of the astrologer, such as confidentiality, the avoidance of fatalism, the distinction between describing a pattern and prescribing a life. It draws on clinical ethics, pastoral care, and feminist critiques of power and interpretive practice. Alright, time is medium. Astrology is a temporal art. It asks us to hold past, present, and future in a single apprehension. This chapter explores the phenomenology of astrological time, how we experience the thickness of the present when we see it as the intersection of multiple cycles, and engages with philosophical debates about determinism, freedom, and the nature of becoming. Alright, part 3. Excuse me, guys. Part 3 is the limits. So the silence of the stars. What astrology cannot do is predict with certainty, replace ethical judgment, and absolve us of responsibility. So this chapter is a meditation on the gaps in astrological knowledge, the moments when the chart is ambiguous, when the transits offer no clear counsel, when we must act without celestial guidance. And then we have the astrologer's loneliness, because this is big. This is actually really fucking big. There is so many astrologers that do not even talk about this. Like, it's lonely as fuck until you find your clique, your people that are into astrology. So to practice astrology in a disenchanted age is to dwell at the margins of consensus reality. This chapter explores the psychological and social challenges of maintaining an astrological practice while engaging with a culture that dismisses or pathologizes it. A meditation on integrity, isolation, and the courage to hold a heretical way of knowing. Alright, toward a mortal theology. Now, astrology invites us into a relationship with the cosmos that is neither worship nor mastery, and this final chapter sketches a theology or a non-theistic cosmology. Appropriate to astrological practice, a vision of the divine as pattern, as invitation, as the horizon of meaning that we approach but never reach. As mortals we can try, the trying is itself the response to that horizon. Alright, so we're now going to expand our excerpt. Chapter 1, the celestial is not the causal. And then what I would do after, probably close up after this. Alright, and then we'll move on. Talking about animals in astrology. Oops. So the mechanistic temptation. Astrology has always been haunted by the desire for certainty. In its ancient forms, this desire expressed itself as fatalism, the stars as ineluctable decree, the chart as a script from which no deviation was possible. In its modern forms, the same desire appears as a search for mechanistic causation, the hope that we might one day discover the gravitational, electromagnetic, or quantum mechanism by which planets influence human affairs. Both impulses spring from the same mortal anxiety. We want the stars to tell us for certain. We want to be absolved of the burden of interpretation, of the uncertainty that attends every reading. But this desire, however understandable, is a betrayal of astrology's deepest gift, the invitation to dwell in meaning rather than in fact. The mechanistic project is doomed on its own terms. No physical mechanism has been proposed that could account for the specificity of astrological symbolism. Why Mars retrograde in Pisces should correlate with a particular kind of emotional withdrawal. Why Venus in Scorpio should manifest differently across different house placements. The correlations that astrologers observe are not reducible to a single causal chain. They are patterns of meaning, and meaning is not the sort of thing that can be captured by efficient causation alone. And alright, now we're going to talk about pattern as language. And I'm going to grab another drink really quick. So, we must distinguish between two senses of cause. The efficient cause is the push or pull that produces an effect. The cue ball strikes the 8 ball and the 8 ball moves. The formal cause, in Aristotelian terms, is the pattern or form that a thing embodies. The 8 ball moves in a straight line because it is round and the table is flat. The pattern of its motion is determined by its form. The final cause is the end toward which a thing tends. The 8 ball moves toward the pocket because the game is structured to produce that outcome. Alright, so what we're talking about here are odds and ends. Now, astrology traffics in formal and final causation, not efficient causation. The planets do not make us become something. They pattern the conditions within which our becoming unfolds. A Mars transit does not cause anger. It creates a formal structure in which anger is more likely to find expression, more likely to be thematically coherent, more likely to serve a developmental purpose. To mistake the pattern for the cause is to reduce a language to a machine. And this is why astrology is so often misunderstood by its critics. They look for the efficient cause, the gravitational pull, the electromagnetic wave, and find nothing. They conclude that astrology is nonsense, but they are looking for the wrong thing. Astrology is not a physics. It is a hermeneutics. It is a way of reading the cosmos as meaningful, not as mechanical. Alright? Also, didn't say this earlier, 26 minutes in, I'm currently live on Meet Me. We have Junior saying something in here. He's talking in emojis. He said happy Friday and good morning. We appreciate you, Junior. Everybody else is getting removed and blocked effective immediately because they're not talking. And I've experienced that a lot on this app. So, just random guys that come in here, think they're above thou, and they can just not talk, and nothing's gonna happen. Well, no, I'm gonna block you. And then when I block you, I don't unblock you guys. Like, that's the thing. So I honestly can't be asked to put up with people that join my stream and don't talk. You know, we're removing people out of the stream now. I had to actually take a break to do that. Alright. I'm currently making a video for YouTube Junior. Alright, so the text and the reader. If the heavens are text, then the astrologer is a reader. But reading is never passive. It is always an encounter between the text and the reader's own subjectivity. The same chart that one astrologer reads as a call to adventure, another may read as a warning of hubris. Which reading is correct? The question assumes that there is a single objective meaning to be extracted, a mistake that conflates astrology with fundamentalist scripture reading. A better model is literary interpretation. A poem has structure, its meter, its rhyme, its imagery, but its meaning is not exhausted by that structure. The meaning emerges in the encounter between the poem and the reader, shaped by the reader's own history, language, and sensibility. Yet we do not say that the poem means anything the reader wants it to mean. The structure constrains interpretation. The poem permits certain readings and forecloses others. The same is true of a chart. In astrology, we have positions, aspects, and dignities being the structure, the objective data, but the meaning of that structure is not a fixed quantity. It emerges in the encounter between the chart and the astrologer, and between the astrologer and the client. This is not relativism. It is interpretive responsibility. The astrologer must be accountable to the structure. Must be able to show why this reading, rather than that one, is warranted by the symbols. But within that constraint, there is room for the mortal subjectivity of the reader, and that room is not a flaw, but a feature. It is where the art lives. The mortal condition of knowing. Well, ladies and gentlemen and aliens, why do we seek certainty? Because we are mortal. Because the stakes of our choices feel infinite, and the time we have feels short. Because we want to know, before we act, whether we are acting in alignment with something larger than ourselves. Here's a fucking answer for you. The answer is yes, you are. Yes. The desire for astrological certainty is the desire to escape the condition of finitude, to know as the gods know, from above time with perfect clarity. But astrology, honestly practiced, does not offer escape from finitude. It offers a way of dwelling within it. The chart does not give us certainty, it gives us pattern, and pattern, unlike certainty, does not relieve us of the burden of choice. It contextualizes choice. It shows us the currents we are swimming in. It illuminates the themes that are likely to emerge, but it does not tell us which way to swim. That decision remains ours, as it must, if we are to be free. This is the philosophical core of astrology. It is a practice for mortals who seek to live in alignment with a cosmos that is patterned but not determined, meaningful but not scripted. We can try to read the patterns, we can try to interpret them with rigor and humility, we can try to use them to live more lucidly, more ethically, more awake, but we cannot escape the condition that makes the trying necessary. We are mortals, and we see through a glass darkly. Alright, so the gift of uncertainty. There's a liberation in accepting that astrology cannot give us certainty. The liberation is this: we are not relieved of our freedom. The chart is not a sentence, it is a conversation. The stars do not command, they suggest, they constrain, they illuminate, but the final word belongs to the mortal who stands under them. And I really suggest most of you get outside at night and just look at the sky. Do some actual pondering. Like it's fucking, 1920 or something, and you don't have access to that phone. You don't have access to your fucking tablet and your fucking video games all day. Actually go outside and look at the sky. The starry sky. But yeah, just do that, and you might actually open your mind up. But anyways, to practice astrology is to practice humility, alright? Meaning we do not know with certainty. We interpret with care. We do not possess the truth. We participate in a tradition of seeking it. We do not escape our mortality. We bring it to the chart, and the chart reflects it back to us, showing us where our blind spots are, where our desires color our reading, where our fear masquerades as insight. Alright? And this is why the title is a philosophical statement. As mortals, we can try. We can try to read well. We can try to be of service. We can try to align our small lives with the large patterns. But we cannot try our way out of being mortal. The trying is itself a mortal act, and in that act, constrained by finitude and illuminated by pattern, we find what we are looking for. Not certainty, but meaning. Not escape, but presence. Not the God's perspective, but our own, offered in the only way it can be offered, imperfectly, courageously, and together. Believe it or not, it's together. Believe it or not, they're actually trying to divide us more and more by changing our DNA and rewriting the scripts overnight, like in every other psyop they've done. And you know who I'm talking about when I say they, right? We're the flies at the reptile party. Come on, people. It's time to wake up. Wake the fuck up. Because there's not enough time for you to still be sleeping. It's April 3rd, 2026. This year is going to go fucking crazy. I have a few weeks until I fly out to Denver to do my convention and speak at this panel, which is going to be on the channel, recorded, as well as an interview I did with Kat Cattinson. Yes, the one and only. So big things are coming. And this year is going to be my fucking year. Is it going to be yours? Are you going to make it your fucking year? Or are you going to say you're too scared? This year we separate the boys from the men, the young girls from the women. You better step to the plate. So, you guys will see that in the next few weeks on the channel. As of April 18th, I'll be flying out, coming back on April 20th. And then you guys should be getting the interview on the channel within the next few weeks. And then also me speaking at the panel, which is going to be like 5 hours, by the way. Like I literally We're going to be talking at this panel from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and it's all going to be recorded. Guys, I've never done such a thing in my life, but guess what? I'm doing it with no fear. The universe walks with me. The universe is with me everywhere I go. It doesn't matter if it's in another country, another state. The universe is right there with me, holding me and saying it's going to be okay. It doesn't matter. Stop playing such a small game for yourself. You know you can play bigger. I've dealt with my parents telling me I never could do certain things. No, you can't get on a flight. No, you can't have a dog. No, you can't have a cat. No, you can't have a car. What happens when I say, no, I can and I will and I do have it? I am successful. I'm not fucking broke. I'm not fucking poor. I'm rich, and the fucking universe knows that. How about that? Play a bigger game. You're gonna die very unhappy if you don't. All that shit you did not do, you will regret. That's all I have to say. It's time to step up. I'm 21 years old. I've been unemployed since 2024. I've been looking for jobs. I've been going on interviews. I've been doing whatever the fuck. I don't want to hear it anymore. But I'm done playing a small game. Because why the fuck have I been looking to work at a gas station where people at my high school work that used to be drug dealers that are lame as hell? They're working at gas stations. I don't deserve to work at a gas station. I don't deserve to be at the fucking bottom of the barrel working at a gas station. Guess what? You can play a bigger game for yourself too. You're telling yourself you can't. You need to be at that gas station. You need to be working there. When the reality is, you can do whatever the fuck you put your mind to. That's your problem. So stay at that gas station. Keep on getting your fucking $14 an hour while I'm out here with other people in different states traveling around the world getting fucking rich. So you have fun at the gas station. Anyways. Yeah. We're gonna talk about animals and astrology now. And I don't even mean to yell at you guys. I'm pumped the fuck up. Like, the sun is about to be in Taurus. I have a Taurus rising. I need Venus to be with me. I have Venus exalted in Pisces. This year is my fucking year. This month is my fucking month. I am feeling charged up, ready for spring. The Taurus season is here. The bull is back, boys. It is time. You guys are going to know my fucking name. I can guarantee you. Alright? Once we get into May, it'll be a really good month for me. I mean, I'm just so excited. I love Taurus season. You know when the sign just enters your ascendant and you just feel like, fuck, everything feels good. I'm actually ready to do shit. Alright, so let's talk about, I mean, as you guys can see, I've said the souls of beasts, right? I don't mean to call all animals beasts. I mean, we're talking about animals, so that includes actual, maybe beastly coyotes, wolves, the bones of giants. Of course, I wanted to talk about dinosaurs in this video. Excuse me. And the secret language of species. I think that's the most appropriate, but the actual title is the Animal Signatura. And I really wanted to talk about animals and astrology because it's something I've actually never done on the channel. I have over 700 videos on this channel. And in none of my videos have we went over animals and talked about, like, do dogs have horoscopes? Do cats have horoscopes? And all these other animals, do they have horoscopes? Do they have natal charts? Do they even have possibly, like origin charts for where these animals originated from? So, like, if we said, if we can figure out, like, where dinosaurs actually originated from, we can actually pull up maybe, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, a natal chart, electional chart, like, a natal chart configuration for the existence of certain animal. Hopefully that makes sense. So, I will go into the preface here, which is the problem of the non-human. It's pretty long, but we'll get through it. So, astrology, in its long history, has been almost exclusively a human affair. The charts we cast are for human births, the transit we track are for human affairs, the houses we interpret are the domains of human life, right? But this anthropocentrism is not a necessity of the art. It is a historical contingency, a narrowing of a vision that once encompassed the whole of creation. The oldest astrological traditions from Mesopotamia to the Indus Valley did not distinguish so sharply between the fates of kings and the behaviors of beasts. The stars governed all things that breathed. The question was never whether animals had signatures, but how those signatures might be read. And this treatise is an attempt to restore that vision. It proceeds from a simple premise. If the heavens pattern the conditions of existence for humans, they must also pattern them for the other creatures who share our world, and who have shared it in ages past. The dog who sleeps at our feet, the dinosaur whose bones lie in the earth, the bird who passes overhead at the moment of our birth, all are woven into the same celestial fabric. To understand that fabric, we must learn to read it through the eyes of species other than our own. Some animal collaboration. The task is not without difficulty. We lack, for most animals, the two things that make human astrology possible: a birth time and a self-reported interiority. We cannot ask a dog when it was born, nor can we ask a dinosaur how it felt under the transit of Pluto. But we are not without resources. The animal leaves traces, the geological epoch of its dominance, the selective pressures that shaped its evolution, the behavioral patterns that emerge under specific transits, the synastry it forms with the humans who share its life. These traces, read with rigor and imagination, can yield a zodiac of the non-human, a map of the signatures that the cosmos inscribes on all flesh. Alright? Now, this treatise is specifically divided into 3 parts, and the first establishes the philosophical and technical foundations of animal astrology, what it means for a non-human being to have a chart, how we approach species-level patterns, and the astrological signatures of domestication and extinction. Now, the second applies these principles to the deepest past, reading the rise and fall of the dinosaurs through the lens of planetary eras and cosmic cycles. The third turns to the present, offering a detailed astrological portrait of the dog, the animal whose fate is most intimately bound to our own, and explores the practical art of reading animal charts, from racehorses to house cats. Throughout, the guiding principle is that of the treatise title: to approach the animal with the same seriousness we bring to the human, and to recognize that the stars speak in more languages than our own. Alright? We're going to begin here with our foundations, so we can see on the screen the celestial signature of flesh. And the first chapter is, does an animal have a chart? But we can understand that the answer is, right now, maybe. Someone named Justin Timberlake is in here. Said, hey, Piscean. How's it going, Justin Timberlake? Except you're black. Also, Justin Timberlake literally just got a DWI. He literally just got pulled over a few weeks ago. Wasn't that like a few weeks ago, or was it last year? He had a DWI, and he was like, they released the video, and he was like, you guys don't know me? I'm Justin Timberlake. And the cops were like, you're drunk. You're driving and you're drunk. That's what we know. You're going to jail. And he just was like fucking flabbergasted to even... Like, celebrities truly think they're higher than thou. That's one thing about certain celebrities you can tell. They think they're higher than thou, and they think, well, I'll just say my name to this police officer, and that means I'll get off the hook for this crime. It's like, dude, if you were drunk, and they test you, and they can see that you've been drinking as much as you've been drinking, it doesn't fucking matter what your name is, what you've been doing your whole life, you're famous, you're going to jail, and you're gonna have to get a lawyer. Like, that's just the way the law system works. Nobody's free, unless you're Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump, the real elite. But if you're Justin Timberlake, and you're just a celebrity, you're not really an elite lizard, then you're gonna go to jail, buddy. That's the way the system really works. It doesn't matter if you're famous. Are you doing a natal chart reading? I am actually doing a longer video on astrology and philosophy. I'm not sure if you've seen my YouTube channel. I'm assuming you have seen it because I have over 700 videos. Mainly, I do make videos on astrology. No, but I'll definitely subscribe. So you know about astrology then? You just were wondering? I have a lot of videos on astrology, but I've also made videos where I have music I've made, vlogs I've made, I read poetry on my channel. I have a lot of videos actually on my channel. Just random ass videos, to be honest with you. I do chart readings from time to time. That's interesting. You should definitely give us a subscribe. Leave a comment on a video. We'll subscribe to you if you have any videos on YouTube. My channel is PisceanX05. So it's spelled P-I-S. Excuse me. I'll put it in the description actually. Because I'm still recording a video, my audience is probably like, what the fuck is going on? I'm still on Meet Me Live. Alright. There we go. So you should look up just Piscean X05. That's what it is, 05. And I should come up pretty immediately. I have 107 subscribers and then I think 780 something videos. I forgot. I don't know. Alright. Peace and love, everybody. We're going to keep on going. Well, the first question is ontological. What is the astrological status of a non-human being? In traditional practice, a chart is cast for the moment of first breath, the moment when the soul in the ancient conception enters the body. But this model assumes a human understanding of soul and birth. For animals, birth is a more ambiguous event. Some are born in litters, some hatch from eggs, some undergo metamorphosis. If we insist on a singular definition of birth moment, we will find ourselves in endless philosophical tangles. Alright? Those animals we're talking about. The ones that don't talk. There's a lot of movies where animals do talk. A more robust approach is to recognize that the chart is not a possession of the individual, but a configuration. A snapshot of the celestial pattern at a given point in space-time. Every entity that comes into being does so under a configuration. That configuration is not a chart in the human sense. It does not have houses in the same way, because houses derive from the horizon, and the horizon is meaningful only for a being that has a here and now of self-awareness. But the configuration has planets, signs, and aspects. It has a moon, which governs the instinctual body. It has a sun, which governs the vital principle. It has an ascendant, the point of embodiment, even if that ascendant is not experienced as a self in the human sense. Thus, every animal has a configuration, though not every animal has a chart in the full human sense. The difference is not in the stars, but in the interpreter. The animal does not require us to read its chart. The chart is simply the pattern under which it entered existence. The reading is our offering, our attempt to understand the pattern's meaning for that particular life. We have our practical considerations here. For domestic animals, we often have a birth date, sometimes a time. For strays and rescues, we must approximate using the date of adoption or first encounter as a proxy. Not because that is the birth, but because it is the most unique moment of entry into the human relationship, which is often the meaningful horizon for a domestic animal's life. For wild animals, we work with species-level configurations, recognizing that the individual's pattern is nested within the species pattern, as the species pattern is nested within the pattern of its evolutionary lineage. So chapter 2 is species as a natal configuration. If individuals have configuration, so do species. A species comes into being at a moment in geological time under a specific configuration of the outer planets. That configuration, the species chart, conditions the evolutionary trajectory of the lineage. shaping its adaptive potentials, its vulnerabilities, its ecological role, and its eventual fate. We consider the canine lineage. Did you find me? Justin Timberlake sent me like 3 bees. Like the diamonds on Meet Me, he sent me bees. My mom is allergic to bees. I'll never forget, my mom told me a story. My mom is a fucking Sagittarius sun, Virgo rising, and she literally got stung by a bee when she was taking her, because she works with smaller children, so she took the smaller children out for a walk, and a bee stung her, and she ended up needing to get help, like, right away. Like, she's allergic to bees. I myself have never been stung. I really don't want to keep it like that. I do not want to get stung by any bees. I do not like getting stung. It just sounds blah. Ugh. It's like getting bit by mosquitoes. I fucking hate it. Bugs are blah. Consider the canine lineage, though. The first true canids appeared in the late Eocene, approximately 40 million years ago, under a celestial configuration that mundane astrologers are only beginning to reconstruct. The outer planets at the time were in the signs that would shape the canine signature, a sense of hierarchy, Saturn, pack orientation, Jupiter, Pluto dynamics, and the domestication potential that would later bind them to humans. The species chart is not deterministic. Evolution is a conversation between configuration and contingency, but it provides the tonality within which the species' possibilities unfold. The concept of the species chart allows us to approach animals for whom we have no individual birth data. A wolf does not need a precise birth time to be understood astrologically. The wolf is an expression of the canine species configuration, modulated by its individual moment of birth. The individual wolf's chart is the species chart activated by a specific time and place, a particular instantiation of a deeper pattern. The problem of extinction. When a species goes extinct, its configuration does not cease to exist, it becomes latent, a possibility that is no longer instantiated. The extinction event itself, the moment when the last individual dies, is the transit of the species chart, a hard aspect from an outer planet that terminates the lineage. We will explore this in part 2 with the dinosaurs. Alright, and chapter 3 is the moon and the instinctual body. So for animals, the moon is paramount. In human astrology, the moon governs the emotional body, the unconscious, the habits and instincts that operate below the threshold of reflective consciousness. But in animals, the moon governs everything that is not learned or volitional. The migratory impulse, the hunting pattern, the mating ritual, the sleep-wake cycle, the response to threat. The moon is the planet of the species, the evolutionary inheritance encoded in the body. The moon's sign and aspects in an animal's chart reveal the animal's instinctual baseline. A dog with moon in Aries has a different relationship to aggression and initiative than a dog with moon in Pisces. A horse with moon in Taurus has a different temperament under saddle than a horse with moon in Gemini. The moon's house, insofar as we can apply houses to animals, indicates the domain in which instinct expresses itself. So first house for self-preservation, third for communication within the pack, fifth for play and offspring, etc. The moon is also the planet of the mother, and for animals the mother is the entire world in the earliest days. The prenatal period, the moon's last conjunction with the sun before birth, is particularly significant as it configures the animal's initial orientation to survival. Transits to the animal's moon. Animals are exquisitely sensitive to lunar transits. The moon's ingress into a new sign can shift behavior noticeably, especially in domesticated animals who live in close proximity to humans. The full moon, especially when aspecting Saturn or Pluto, can correlate with heightened anxiety, escape attempts, or aggressive outbursts. The experienced animal handlers have long known that certain days are bad for training. This is the lunar cycle manifesting in the instinctual body. Alright, chapter 4 is domestication as the Plutonian synastry. And essentially, the domestication of animals is one of the great turning points in the history of life on Earth. From an astrological perspective, it is a synastry, a relationship between the species chart of the animal and the species chart of the human. The domestication event occurs when a transit activates a conjunction or strong aspect between the two charts, binding the face of two lineages into a single trajectory. The dog was domesticated approximately 15,000 through 30,000 years ago, during the last glacial maximum. The outer planets at that time were in a configuration that favored the fusion of human and canine social structures. Pluto and Sagittarius, the pack, the hunt, making a trine to Uranus and Gemini, communication, the capacity to read intention. The dog species chart and the human species chart entered into a relationship that has shaped both lineages ever since. The synastry between species can be read like the synastry between individuals. We look for conjunctions, oppositions, and trines between the key points. For the dog and human, the key points are the moon, instinct, Saturn, structure, and Pluto, power. The conjunction between the dog's moon and the human's Pluto is the signature of the domestication contract. The dog surrenders its instinctual autonomy in exchange for protection and food, and the human assumes a Plutonian role of authority and responsibility. The synastry is not static, it evolves with transits. The current Pluto return of the U.S. is also a transit to the human-canine synastry, activating questions about the ethics of breeding, the fate of shelter animals, and the role of the dog in a society increasingly alienated from nature. Alright, part 2 is the Age of Giants, dinosaur astrology. Yes. And if you know anyone else that's talked about this, please introduce me, because I've never seen anyone talk about dinosaurs and astrology before, at least not yet. So chapter 5 is the Triassic, Saturn in the House of Beginnings. The dinosaurs emerged in the Triassic period, approximately 230 million years ago. Following the Permian-Triassic extinction, the most severe extinction event in Earth's history. From an astrological perspective, the Triassic period was a period of Saturnian consolidation. The Earth's systems were reorganizing after the cataclysm, and the new dominant life forms would be those that could endure long cycles of stability and scarcity. The species chart of the dinosaurs is anchored by Saturn and Scorpio using reconstructions of the outer planet positions. Precision is impossible for such deep time, but the archetypal signature is discernible. Saturn in Scorpio is the signature of endurance through transformation, the capacity to survive by evolving, to adapt by shedding old forms and assuming new ones. The dinosaurs would embody the signature for 165 million years, longer than any other land vertebrate lineage. The Triassic configuration also featured Uranus and Gemini, the signature of diversification. The dinosaurs radiated into a vast array of forms, from the small bipedal predators of the late Triassic to the giant sauropods of the Jurassic. The Uranus-Gemini energy gave the clade its plasticity, its capacity to occupy every terrestrial niche. So, what I was going to say earlier, when I was first beginning this treatise, was I couldn't remember that I was talking about rectification. And we can do rectified charts. So that's what I was thinking about earlier. Alright, now let's talk about the Jurassic, Jupiter, and the Age of Abundance. The Jurassic period, which was a very long time ago, 201 through 145 million years ago. It was the golden age of the dinosaurs. The climate was warm, the continents were lush, and the dinosaurs grew to sizes never seen before or since. The astrological signature of this era is Jupiter in Sagittarius, the planet of expansion in the sign of the hunt, the open plain, the grand gesture. The Jupiterian signature is evident in the sauropods, the long necks, the immense bodies, the sheer excess of biological form. Jupiter in Sagittarius does not economize, it proliferates. The Jurassic saw the evolution of the largest land animals in Earth's history. The brachiosaurs, the diplodocids, the apatosaurs, creatures whose very existence was a testament to the abundance of their time. We have Topher in the stream with peace and love. We appreciate you, Topher. You may be asking who I am. I'm an astrologer, also detransitioner, who is famous, and you will hear about me very soon. But Jupiter in Sagittarius is also the signature of the hunter. In the Jurassic there we go. Saw the evolution of the first large theropod predators, right? The allosaurs, the ceratosaurs, who embodied the Sagittarian arrow, swift, targeted, lethal, right? The predator-prey dynamic of the Jurassic was a Jupiterian dance of expansion and consumption, each species pushing the other toward greater size and sophistication. The North Node, also known as Rahu, during the Jurassic was in Aries, the sign of the self and the pioneer. I also have this placement, in my natal chart, in the 12th house. So Aries for me is literally my 12th house, which is funny because it's the first sign. Alcohol, drugs, cocaine, marijuana. The evolutionary imperative of the era was individuation. The dinosaurs were not merely surviving, they were becoming themselves, developing the unique anatomical features that would define their lineages for millions of years. Alright, so that's dinosaurs. Now we're going to get into Chapter 7, Chapter 8, and then we're going to talk more about birth charts for dogs. So, let's do it. The Cretaceous, Pluto and the Seeds of Extinction. So, essentially, a pimp named Slickback. How's it going today? I'm not totally sure if I've seen you in the streams before, but we appreciate you with peace and love. Born March 9th. Yep, and that is definitely Pisces. However, you probably, because you were born in March, we'd have to get your actual birth time to figure out the rising, and however, you don't actually need your birth time to figure out where was the moon the day you were born if you know your moon sign. I would help you out right now, but we can't because I'm actually in the middle of recording a YouTube video for my channel, which is about astrology, believe it or not. So maybe after we finish up, if you're still in stream, we'll hook you up with a chart reading. But anyways, guys, we do got to finish talking about this because we're talking about dinosaurs and animal life, and I really want to get this video out there. So the Cretaceous period, about 145 or 66 million years ago. It was the climax and the end, and the dinosaurs reached their peak diversity. The tyrannosaurs, the ceratopsians, the hadrosaurs, the ankylosaurs, but beneath the surface, the configuration was shifting toward the extinction that would close the Mesozoic. Being the key transit of the Cretaceous was Pluto in Scorpio, Pluto in its own sign, the planet of death and transformation operating at maximum intensity. The Cretaceous was a period of volcanic activity, the Tican traps, sea level changes, and gradual climatic cooling. Right. Well, the dinosaurs were living under a Plutonian regime, and they were being prepared for transformation, though they did not know it yet. The asteroid impact that ended the Cretaceous 66 million years ago was not a random event, it was a transit, the final culminating aspect of the Plutonian era. The impact occurred when transiting Uranus. The sudden rupture conjoined the species charts Pluto and Scorpio, triggering the mass extinction. The dinosaurs, who had dominated for 165 million years, were eliminated in a geological instant. This is a part of human history as we know it, and when we talk about astrology, a lot of astrologers won't sit here and go over this with you. Alright? But Pluto in Scorpio is also the signature of transformation through death. Because Pluto is a sign of death and rebirth naturally, and then it's in its home sign. Alright? We're talking about a planet of just combustion and death. In its home sign, it's kind of like an exaltation. And it's a heightened transformation through death. So the dinosaurs did not simply vanish. They gave rise to the birds who survived the extinction and diversified into the tens of thousands of species that fill our skies today. That's really what happened. That's why we have so many fucking birds. The birds are the Pluto-Scorpio legacy of the dinosaurs. I bet you didn't know that, because I sure as hell didn't. The hidden sea that survived the destruction and emerged transformed. Why the fuck aren't, like, more channels like National Geographic talking about shit like this? Like, they'd get more people interested. I can almost guarantee you. If you just mention the astrology and help people understand it, so it's, digestible, people would want to actually learn about it. But, again, who the fuck am I right now? You guys will figure it out soon. But, so that's why we have so many birds in the sky. But the asteroid impact was not an end, but a transition, meaning the death of one form and the birth of another. So in astrological terms, it was a Pluto transit, being the destruction of was no longer viable anymore, because there was the emergence of what would carry the lineage forward in a new shape, being birds. This might sound crazy to you guys, but I think the government was involved with the extinction of dinosaurs. And I'm not going to elaborate further, but they've been doing stuff for a very long time that you don't know about. Right. So I do want to talk about the astrological interpretation of deep time, and then I'm pretty sure we're getting closer to me being kind of finished up, but not really, because this is pretty long. Well, working with such immense timescales requires a different astrological methodology. We cannot cast charts for individual dinosaurs. We have no birth times, no houses, no individual lives to read. Instead, we work with epochal configurations. Essentially, the signatures of the outer planets that define each geological era. And as we can see, the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they move slowly enough to, of course, define eras. It's Jupiter's 12-year cycle, Saturn's 29-year cycle, Uranus's 84-year cycle. These are too short to mark geological time. But the synods of the outer planets, their conjunctions and oppositions, occur on timescales that correlate with evolutionary patterns. So the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, which is occurring every 20 years, marks short-term ecological shifts. Uranus-Pluto square, which occurs every 100 through 130 years, marks extinction events and radiations. The Neptune-Pluto cycle, which lasts approximately 500 years, is the signature of deep evolutionary trends. And right now, we have Neptune in Aries, while Pluto is in Aquarius. What could possibly go wrong? Seriously. People that don't think we're going into war, fucking I don't even know what to say anymore to that, because it's bound at this point. The mass extinction events that punctuate Earth's history correspond to hard aspects between the outer planets. The Permian-Triassic extinction, the Great Dying, occurred under a Uranus-Pluto opposition. The Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction, the dinosaur extinction, occurred under a Uranus-Pluto conjunction. The ongoing Holocene extinction, the sixth mass extinction, is occurring under the Uranus-Pluto square of 2012 through 2015, and the subsequent Saturn-Pluto conjunctions. Alright? And this correlation suggests that the outer planets and their slowdowns are the timekeepers of evolution, the celestial hands that turn the pages of the fossil record. When they come into hard aspect, the conditions of existence shift, species that cannot adapt are winnowed, and new forms emerge to fill the empty niches. Now I want to get into part 3, the companions, which is dog astrology. Now I gotta be honest, I prefer cats. I'm not really a dog person. Have I seen a lot of dogs in my life? Yes. Do I hate dogs? No. Do I think dogs are... Would I want a smaller dog? Maybe, yeah. I don't want one that's really big. But I also prefer kittens, I think. I'm not totally sure. Maybe I don't want to get scratched or bitten, so I get a dog. But that dog can still, scratch, bite. Alright, hold on a second. Alright, so chapter 9. We're going to go over the canine natal chart, anatomy of a soul. Like I said, this is dog astrology. And we see companions, but we're always told that dogs are what? Man's best friend. It can't just be a woman's best friend, it has to be a man's best friend. That's what we've always been told in westernized history. Talking about dogs. So, if we are to practice astrology for dogs, we need a system that honors their nature. The traditional houses derived from human domains of life must be reinterpreted. A dog does not have a 10th house of career, but it has a 10th house of public role, the relationship with humans, the expectations placed upon it, the way it is perceived in the world. A dog does not have a 7th house of marriage, but it has a 7th house of primary partnership, usually the human who is its person, but this could even be its mates. Maybe you have multiple animals in the house. And there's mating going on. So we don't really know until we know what we're talking about with the dogs in this situation. So we have a proposed reinterpretation of the houses for canines. Of course, we have our house. We have the traditional human domain, and then we'd have our canine interpretation. So here we go. First house, we know traditionally it's for the human self, human body, human identity, human's physical health. But with dogs, it's breed traits, core temperament, right? And that can make sense, because that's what the first house really is all about. It's your core fundamentality of being human. The second house is for resources, values. But for dogs, it's their food drive, possessiveness, and comfort needs. The third house for us is communication, our siblings, even short-distance travel. And for dogs, it's relationship with other dogs, vocalization, curiosity. For us, the fourth house is home, our roots, where we're reborn. For dogs, it's their bond with primary territory and their security needs. For us, the fifth house is creativity, children, and playing. And for dogs, it's, of course, their play drive, their joy, their capacity for leisure. We look at the sixth house. For us, it's health, service, or work ethic. But even for dogs, it's their work ethic, herding, guarding, etc., and their daily routines as dogs. For us, the seventh house is partnerships, and for dogs, it's primary human bond relationship with their person. For us, the eighth house is sex, death, and transformation, and for dogs, it's their fear responses, fight or flight threshold. For us, the ninth house is travel, philosophy, and for dogs, it's adaptability to new environments and wanderlust. For us, the 10th house is public role, and for dogs, it's social role in human context, training achievements. For us, the 11th house is friends and groups, while for dogs, it's pack dynamics, behavior, and dog parks. And for us, the 12th house is solitude, hidden anxiety, and dogs, it's trauma history, need for quiet space. All right. Now, the planetary rulerships remain the same, but their expression is modified. Mars in the 4th house might manifest as territorial aggression, Venus in the 5th as a particular playfulness, Saturn in the 8th as fear of strangers or of being left alone. Alright, let's talk about breed as a natal configuration. If species have charts, so do breeds. A breed is a human-created lineage, bred for specific traits over centuries. The birth of a breed, the moment when a breed standard is formalized, is a natal event that configures the breed's astrological signature. It's considered the Labrador Retriever. The breed was formalized in the 19th century under a configuration that emphasized Jupiter in Pisces, the water, the soft mouth, the joy of retrieval, and the moon in Taurus, the steady temperament, the food motivation, the physical solidity. The Labrador's chart shows why it is the most popular breed. It embodies a harmonious balance of Jupiterian exuberance and Taurus stability. The German Shepherd dog, GSD, was formalized under a different configuration. Saturn in Capricorn, the working dog, the discipline, the structure, and Mars in Scorpio, the intensity, the protective instinct, the capacity for focused aggression. The GSD's chart reveals a breed that is capable of extraordinary service, but also prone to anxiety and reactivity if not properly channeled. The Chihuahua, by contrast, was formalized under a configuration of Mercury and Gemini, the quickness, the vocalization, the nervous energy, and Uranus and Aries, the independence, the small dog, big personality syndrome. The Chihuahua's chart is a signature of acceleration and alertness, a small body with a large, rapid mind. Understanding the breed's natal configuration allows the astrologer to contextualize the individual dog's chart. A Labrador with Mars in Aries will express that Mars differently than a Chihuahua with Mars in Aries. The breed's baseline conditions the expression of the individual planets. Alright, let's talk transits in the canine psyche. Dogs are sensitive to transits in ways that are often more visible than in humans because dogs lack the capacity to rationalize or suppress their responses. When a transit activates the moon, the dog's instinctual body responds directly. So moon transits, the moon's ingress into a new sign every 2 to 3 days correlates with noticeable shifts in behavior. Moon in Aries may bring bursts of energy and a desire to initiate play. Moon in Cancer may bring clinginess and a need for comfort. Moon in Scorpio may bring digging, hiding, or heightened alertness. The moon's aspects to natal planets are also significant. A moon-Saturn transit may bring fearfulness. A moon-Jupiter transit may bring exuberance. Mercury transits. Mercury governs communication and in dogs the capacity to understand human cues. A Mercury retrograde period may correlate with confusion, misbehavior, or a breakdown in training. Mercury's ingress into a new sign can shift a dog's responsiveness to commands. Mars transits. So Mars transits activate the dog's aggressive and initiative energies. A Mars square to the natal Mars may bring irritability, and Mars trine to the Sun may bring courage and playfulness. Mars in Aries or Scorpio can be particularly intense for dogs with reactive temperaments. Alright. Saturn transits to the dog's chart often correlate with health issues, mobility problems, or the loss of a pack member. A Saturn return around age 2 to 3 for a dog, if we consider the dog's life in human years, is a time of maturing when the dog settles into its adult temperament. Uranus transits. They bring sudden changes, a move, a new human, an unexpected event. For rescue dogs, the Uranus transit often coincides with the adoption itself, a sudden rupture in the previous life and a new beginning. Neptune transits can correlate with confusion, disorientation, or health issues that are difficult to diagnose. They can also bring a heightened sensitivity, a dreaminess, or a tendency to wander. Pluto transits are rare in a dog's life, given the typical lifespan, but when they occur, they are transformative, often involving a major change in the dog's circumstances, such as a move to a new home, the death of a primary human, or a life-threatening illness. Alright, let's talk synastry with humans, the bond beyond worlds. The relationship between a dog and its human is one of the most intimate cross-species bonds on Earth. In astrological terms, it is a synastry, a chart comparison that reveals the nature of the connection. We look at the key points in canine-human synastry and what they are. So we have the human's moon and the dog's moon. A harmonious aspect, trine, sextile, indicates an easy emotional resonance. The human and dog understand each other's moods instinctively. A hard aspect, square, opposition, may indicate emotional mismatches. The dog's needs conflicting with the human's, or the human projecting emotions onto the dog. The human's Mercury and the dog's Mercury, the quality of communication. A harmonious aspect indicates that the human's cues are clear to the dog and the dog's signals are clear to the human. A hard aspect may indicate miscommunication, training difficulties, or a dog that seems stubborn, i.e. not understanding what is being asked. Alright, humans Mars and dogs Mars. The dynamic of energy and aggression. A conjunction can be intense. The human and dog may have similar energy levels and a strong bond through activity. A square may indicate power struggles or clashes of will. Human Saturn and the dog Saturn, the structure of the relationship. A harmonious aspect indicates that the human can provide the consistent boundaries that the dog needs. The dog respects the human's authority. A hard aspect may indicate discipline issues, fear of the human, or the human being overly harsh. Humans Pluto and the dog's Moon. This is the signature of the deepest bond, the one where the dog is truly the human's soul dog. Pluto aspects indicate a transformative relationship, one that changes both beings. This aspect can also appear in rescue situations where the dog's suffering. Pluto calls to the human's capacity for healing. The adoption moment. For rescue dogs, the moment of adoption, when the dog leaves the shelter and enters the human's home, functions as a second birth. The chart for that moment is often more revealing than the dog's birth chart, because it is the moment when the dog's life takes its definitive turn. The adoption chart's ascendant shows the dog's initial posture in the new home. The moon shows the emotional tone of the transition. The aspects of the human's chart show how the bond will develop. Alright, let's talk about endings, the transit of death. So no dog owner is spared the transit of death. For a dog, the end of life is a transit, usually a Saturn transit, the closing of a cycle, a Pluto transit, the transformation through loss, or a Neptune transit, the dissolution of the physical form. For the human, the dog's death is also a transit, a Saturn transit to the human's chart, the loss of a structure of daily life, a Pluto transit, the confrontation with mortality, or a Moon transit, the emotional grief. The astrologer's role in this passage is to help the human see the timing not as a random tragedy, but as a pattern, the completion of a cycle, the fulfillment of a bond. The dog's chart shows a natural lifespan indicated by its Saturn cycle. The Saturn return, around age 2 to 3, is the first maturation. The Saturn opposition, around age 7 through 9, is the midlife. The Saturn square, around age 10 through 12, often correlates with the decline. The transits at the time of death show the planets that are completing their work in the dog's life. But the most important thing the astrologer can offer is the recognition that the bond does not end with the transit. In the synastry between human and dog, the aspects are permanent. They are recorded in the human's chart as a permanent influence. The dog, who has been a Pluto-Moon conjunction to the human, does not vanish with death. The transformation that dog wrought remains. The dog, who has been a Saturn trine to the human sun, continues to structure the human sense of responsibility and care. The bond is not dissolved, it is completed, and in that completion it becomes a permanent part of the human celestial signature. We conclude with the stars for all flesh. We've ranged from the Triassic to the living room, from the bones of giants to the wag of a tail. The thread that runs through all of it is the conviction that the stars speak to all that lives. All that lives, not only to the species that can cast a chart, but to every creature that draws breath under the same sky. Therefore, the practice of animal astrology is not a luxury or a curiosity, it is a form of attention. To cast a chart for a dog is to take that dog seriously as a being with its own nature, its own timing, its own relationship to the cosmos. To imagine the dinosaurs under the planets of the Jurassic is to honor their long reign as a chapter in the story of life that the stars have witnessed from the beginning. We are mortals, and our animals are mortal with us. Their lives are short. For the dog, a Saturn return or two. For the dinosaur, an era. For the bird, a migration season. But in each life, however brief, the celestial pattern is inscribed. To read that pattern is to see the mortal condition reflected in 1,000 forms. The predator and the prey, the wild and the domestic, the extinct and the emergent, all participating in the same cosmic syntax. As mortals we can try. We can try to read the stars for the dog who sleeps at our feet, for the horse who carries us, for the bird who passes overhead. We can try to understand the deep patterns that shape the giants of the past and that shape the creatures of our present. And in that trying, we may come to understand something about ourselves, not as the center of creation, but as one species among many, all of us under the same sky, all of us trying to live out our signatures with whatever grace we can muster. This is the promise of animal astrology, that it returns us to our place in the community of life, reminding us that the stars do not belong to us alone, and that the art of reading them is a gift we share with all who live. Alright, we have appendix here. We'll quickly go over tables of significations. So first, it would be planets in animal astrology. We look at the planet and our general significance for animals. So Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Sun is vitality, core identity, relationship with the primary human for domestic animals. Moon is instinct, emotional baseline, response to environment, mother bond. Mercury is communication, learning capacity, vocalization, and curiosity. Venus is social harmony, affection, physical comfort, attraction to certain humans. Mars is aggression, drive, courage, territoriality. Jupiter is expansion, appetite, optimism, adaptability. Saturn is structure, boundaries, aging, discipline, fear of authority. Uranus is sudden change, independence, eccentricity, reactivity. Neptune is confusion, sensitivity, health mysteries, wandering, spiritual connection. Pluto is transformation, fear, power dynamics, depth of bond with human. Alright? Table 2 is signs and animal temperaments. So from Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. We see Aries in dogs or animals in general. We get these animal temperaments or animal archetypes is what we'll go over in zodiacal archetypes. So Aries is high energy, impulsive, courageous, prone to aggression, if frustrated. Taurus is steady, food motivated, stubborn, comfortable with routine. Gemini is curious, vocal, easily distracted, sociable with multiple people. Cancer is nurturing, anxious, bonded to home, sensitive to mood of family. Leo is dramatic, confident, attention-seeking, loyal to the pack leader. Virgo is attentive to details, clean, service-oriented, prone to nervousness. Libra is social, cooperative, sensitive to conflict, responsive to praise. Scorpio is intense, loyal, protective, prone to jealousy and suspicion. Sagittarius is adventurous, independent, loves travel, prone to wandering. Capricorn is serious, disciplined, patient, can be aloof or fearful of strangers. Aquarius is unconventional, independent, intelligent, may be detached. Pisces is sensitive, dreamy, intuitive, prone to anxiety and confusion. Alright? Of course, doc stops working. Alright. We'll read the last table here, which is houses for dogs. So we look at our house domain. Pretty sure we already did this though. So you see the first house is physical health, breed expression, core temperament. Second house is food drive, possessiveness, comfort preferences. Third house is communication style, relationship with other dogs. Fourth house is home territory, security, attachment to space. Fifth house is play drive, joy, capacity for fun. Sixth house is work drive, training, responsiveness, daily routines. Seventh house is primary human bond, relationship with person. Eighth house is fear responses, fight or flight, tolerance of stress. Ninth house is adaptability, travel, openness to new experiences. 10th house is public role, training achievements, reputation. 11th house is pack dynamics, behavior in groups, dog-dog relations. And the 12th house is solitude needs, hidden anxieties, and trauma history. Alright. Thank you for watching this video with peace and love. I will see you in the next one teaching you more advanced astrology for free.